Let the train!
You are listening to What the Truck.
Are you ready to truck it? It's time. It's time for your Nooner with Dooner. Joining me on this Wednesday. About a month ago, I took my family up to Rock City. We got a birdhouse over there. You know, when you buy a birdhouse, everyone says, hey, you're going to waste money. Nobody's going to use it. We got one like 3 years ago. It just faded. No birds moved in. However, just yesterday, this started to happen. Take a look at this. These birds have started to move into the penthouse. They're flying in all their nesting and everything. Look at that thing right there, too. That's a nice place for a bird. But there's a cool story behind these. There's a big pivot. The legacy advertising of Sea Rock City, it used to be on a barn, right? So the owner of Sea Rock City back in the 1930s, he would go around and he'd write Sea Rock City on every barn that he could find between Michigan and Texas, trying to lead people here down to Chattanooga. In fact, it was so successful doing this that he decided, great, I'm going to make these as mailboxes for the U.S. Post Office. And they made a ton of them. The problem is it got rejected. The prototype was rejected. They had this big order. So what did they do? He did a big old pivot and he turned these things into birdhouses. And now they're ubiquitous over here in the Chattanooga area. Or if you've visited Rock City. So pretty cool. If you're out here, you come out to F3 down in November, go and check it out. Anyways, on today's episode, I'm talking to super trucker Justin Martin about a driver who fell asleep in his truck on the train tracks, a $200,000 dime heist, delivering to Bristol in a NASCAR track, and are inspections a good way to judge a carrier? Bob Perry of Health in Transportation has spent nearly the past 4 decades on a mission to educate professional drivers and share life-changing products and services to help them live healthier lives while on the road. He shares tips on getting in shape this summer. I know we all could use it. There's one parking space for every 11 truck drivers in the United States. Big Rig Parking's Benton Osborne is on a mission to fix that, though. We'll learn how he's getting drivers a safe place to shut down. Hopefully not sleeping on the train tracks. And does the future of hydrogen rely on Nikola's success in this market? That's a scary thought. Also, why have there been so many EV recalls? FreightWaves' Alan Adler has the scoop on that. Let's tip the band, and we'll get right into it. By the way, can we wind my clock down here? Thanks. Your customers and investors want to know that your company is serious about sustainability. Show them the depth of your commitment when you rely on AIT Worldwide Logistics for your freight forwarding needs. From Scope 3 carbon footprint reporting to calculating emissions at the transaction level, partnering with AIT sends a clear message to stakeholders. You mean business when it comes to sustainability. Learn more at AITworldwide.com. But right now, I need to talk to Alan Adler, my partner in crime at the Guardians game in June with a great T-shirt on. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see you in person in like 2 short months now?
Something like that, yeah. Cleveland. I started my career in Cleveland, brother.
Did you really?
Back when the Indians really were just like Major League. I mean, they were that bad. They were that bad, and they were kind of funny, too. I remember people would slide in the tarps during rainouts. There'd only be 5,000 people in Municipal Stadium, hold 61. Except when the Yankees came in, they would get better crowds. But anyway, crazy place. But I think that's when I became an Indians fan. And, of course, now that's the Guardians, and you and I may go see them.
Yeah,
hey.
I'm excited to go see. If you're out there, I know you can win tickets to that game, but like the night of June 20th, I think it is, that Tuesday. Mm-hmm. There's a 6:20 game at the Guardians. I know myself and Alan will be there if you're going to attend Future of Supply Chain. Go down to the stadium. It's the night before the event. Great time to see him out. And Alan, I'm getting like all the stadium tours. I'm going to Atlanta this Sunday to see the Braves play the Astros.
You know how many Major League ballparks I've been to, Dooner?
How many?
47. 47. Wow. Which means that obviously a lot of them aren't around anymore, but I still have 2 left, the current parks. Globe Life in Texas and Yankee Stadium where I got rained out. That's a whole other story. But, the current Yankee Stadium. I went to the original Yankee Stadium too. But, yeah, it's a bucket list thing, I guess, Well,
now we have the pitch clock in baseball, but there's also a pitch clock for Nikola and hydrogen, it would seem. What is going on with this? And is Nikola like that important to hydrogen that the future rests with them?
No, it's not. But I think it's a good question to ask is what happens if they don't make it? And that question I think is becoming, much clearer now. I mean, we've had detractors say for since 2020 that the company is going out of business. I'm not sure that it is or isn't. I will tell you, though, that their finances are such that, it's really going to be pretty much up to shareholders, unless there's some white knight we don't know about, Dooner. It's going to be up to shareholders in June to agree to, again, raise the number of authorized shares, dilute themselves to keep the company going. Because there's a hedge fund out there named Antera Capital that loaned Nikola $200 million last year. Obviously, it wants its money back. And, hedge funds, take risks because they charge their clients a lot of money to make big returns. So now you've got a situation where the same hedge fund bought about 64% of a public offering that Nikola did, raised another $100 million to, obviously keep the lights on, keep production moving, and that sort of thing earlier this month. But that bill's going to come due, especially the interest on that bill. Nikola doesn't have the cash to pay it. It wants more shares, so it can use shares to do it. I don't understand all the details of this, but it could get to the point where you would have so many shares going to Antera that it might create a change of control in the company, which is all, heavy duty stuff, right? The whole question is, can Nikola make it? Right now, it appears that vote on June 7th, and Nikola said they'll try again and again if needed, but on June 7th, the shareholders will be asked to double to 1.6 billion the number of outstanding shares. So that's what's happening.
Wow. Well, I'm sure the retail investors aren't happy about that. But I was looking through your article, and it seems like their fuel cell seems very not ready for prime time, in the sense that, if you get one of these trucks, since they don't have the stations, you have to have them truck the fuel to you at your. I mean, that's a tough sell unless this is a pilot program, right?
Well, it's going to be so early. There's going to be so few trucks, right? I don't know how many they're planning to build in the fourth quarter. I mean, we're in the very early days, and right now, I mean, they've committed. They've got 4 stations signed, basically, in California. 2 of those, interestingly enough, are with Travel Centers of America, which is in the process of being purchased by BP. BP's former BP executive is the head of energy at Nikola at this point. So is BP that maybe white knight on the station side to help them get that moving faster? At one point, before the Hindenburg Accord back in 2020, BP was in discussions with Nikola about doing just that. They kind of got scared off, just like General Motors did after all of Trevor Milton's shenanigans. So, but they're definitely tied in and know a whole lot about Nikola, and they've been investing in non-oil kinds of things. BP has, the TA purchase. They bought a company called Amply, which is a charging company and things like that. So, I continue to see, that there might be some kind of BP play out there. But honestly, the problem with Nikola is it doesn't have a ton of intellectual property that somebody would want to buy and develop. It's an assembler of vehicles, and they've done a lot of work to plow the ground. This is where the hydrogen question comes in. They've plowed the ground and come up with a lot of partnerships, a lot of ways to get hydrogen both made and arguably delivered, mobile being one of them. But what happens if that goes away? Does it really impact hydrogen? Mike Ramsey at Gartner thinks, yeah, it does. It's a setback because these guys are the only ones that are truly focusing on it. Others are dabbling. So he does see a setback. Cummins, which is, building a ton of electrolyzers to make hydrogen, says, we'll get by with or without them, and that sort of thing. So that's an open debate, but it's definitely a question worth asking.
Interesting. Well, what is, let's say, so you're not going to use hydrogen. You go and you get an EV. You go and you get an electric truck. What's going on with the recalls there? I know the big headline one was last week or two, Tesla, all the Tesla semis got pulled back in. There's been a few other. Get me up to speed here.
All 35 of them at the time, right? I mean, that's how many we're talking about. Noah Mahoney wrote that story. And interestingly enough, in the recall, which actually ties back to Bendix commercial vehicle systems, it was a bad part that they had. And it affected 4 truck makers, 3 of which said who they were. Tesla said, we're a confidential company, so we're not going to use our name. They obviously got found out anyway. But yeah, so that particular issue with Bendix did affect Nikola, and it's causing them to bring back, I think more than 300 of their trucks. Again, this doesn't necessarily impinge on Nikola. We were talking on FreightWaves Now yesterday about this, and there's really, ultimately Bendix is going to pay the cost of the recall. Nikola dealers will get reimbursed for making the fix. the few trucks that are actually in circulation right now, there's a bit of an inconvenience there because you've got to bring them in to get them fixed. But by and large, it doesn't really impact Nikola all that much. Volvo's situation a little bit different. They had these trucks had adaptive cruise control on them, and they didn't do the system to switch it over to an electric truck, and so that's created a skidding problem. Where the ABS and the anti-lock brakes don't know what to do with themselves. So that's something that Volvo is going to have to fix. Those two came up the same week. Here's what I think this says, Dooner. More than it being any kind of epidemic or anything like that, it says that electric trucks are real. Because if they're real, they get recalled. That's what happens with legacy trucks all the time.
Yeah, but the problem is that electric trucks kind of have to prove themselves, right? They have to prove themselves to the market, and unreliability with equipment. I know it's a small sample size, and I know that anyone that's realistically buying right now understands that you should not be basing your primary fleet or your dedicated lanes or anything like that on electric trucks. Although there was a company called EV Semicorp. I don't know if they're still around, but they were going to buy a bunch of Nikolas and try and have an EV load board. I don't know how that's working out for them. It seems like that would be a tough thing to launch right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, they're integrating electric trucks along with the rest of the trucks, but you do have some step up. I mean, California put a whole ton of money into buying trucks, or basically buying trucks for NFI and for Schneider, and 50 trucks each. That's a lot at this stage, and they're starting to deliver those. Interestingly enough, Frito-Lay, which is part of PepsiCo, was touting the idea that Schneider was the first third party to haul loads for them, and I think it was Texas. And of course, all the attention has been on the Tesla semis working out of PepsiCo in Modesto, California. So you're starting to see it. It's coming up a little bit. It's going to be a long time before we get to a critical mass, but it's happening, and it's happening pretty quickly at this point. Again, we're going to get back into that whole chicken and egg infrastructure question about charging. But I think that, the trucks, there's no reason to believe they're not reliable. I think the people that drive them love them because, it's just so much easier. And you've driven them, I believe, Tuner. I think you drove the Hyliion truck, if I'm not mistaken.
I've been to Nikola.
And so I mean, these things are a dream to drive compared to working your way through the shifting of a diesel and the noise and the smell and the rest of it, right?
Yeah, but the Nikola doesn't have a pull chain. That's why I sold all my shares.
Yeah, you talked about that. You need to get over that, but that's something for me to tell you.
I think I probably made the right decision on those shares. But Alan, this is not financial advice, by the way. But Alan, what's up with Truck Tech? Tell people what goes on there and what they're going to learn this week.
Okay, so this afternoon, I'm pretty excited about this one. We've been talking about it on most of our platforms. Chris Urmson, who is truly an OG in the autonomous space, he was part of the whole DARPA challenges back in the early and mid 2000s at Carnegie Mellon. He was at the Google self-driving car program, which became Waymo. He co-founded Aurora Innovation. Aurora Technologies is its a trade name, basically. But Aurora, he co-founded that and is CEO of that. I've yet to interview him personally, so I'm excited he's our guest today. We're even going to forego the headlines portion of the show so that we can spend all of our time with Chris. He's got quite a bit of perspective to offer, both on his own company as well as, I think, the autonomous space in general. So, in a nice get for us, I'm really happy to have him, and so we hope people will tune in at 4 Eastern today for that. It will be on podcast, Apple and Spotify and so forth afterwards too, and available at tv.freightwaves.com. So that's exciting. Still trying to noodle what's going to be in the newsletter on Friday this week. It's between two things. We got a hearing this afternoon coming up in California about banning autonomous trucks. No action will come out of that, but it might be something we're going to listen in and see what's happening with that.
Yeah, I've heard that they're recently I've heard they're starting to get in danger in California. That would be a pretty interesting one to cover, or that forced having to have that safety driver in the truck no matter what, which is kind of a death knell for AV over in California. But we'll see. I look forward to getting the newsletter. Look up Alan Adler. Just the easiest way, just Google Alan Adler FreightWaves. His whole page comes up. That's the best way to find this man. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh, wait, I got one question for you. My stupid question of the day. Hold on a second. Which banana are you taking? We got to show the banana here. What's the logistics industry's favorite ripeness of banana?
Okay, I got number 5 is mine. 4 might still have a little green at the top, even though it doesn't look like it. But 5 looks just about perfect to me.
Oh wow, you like kind of like a medium well in terms of
yeah. I don't want it to be mushy. Mushy's no good. You get over to 6, and of course 7, you should just make a banana bread out of. But 6 is probably a little too far gone. I would be okay with 4 if I had to make if it was between 4 and 5, I'd take 5 and then 4 right after it.
I'm a 4 guy. I think 4 is just about perfect. I open these. I pinch I don't do it from the stem. People do it wrong. I do it monkey style. I pinch the short part, the bottom part. You just pinch that. The peel comes right off. You don't get all those strands on there. I'm going to tell you.
So Garrett Cole, who's the pitcher for the New York Yankees the other night, he pitches a complete game, right? Won the second one in baseball this year. He comes out after the 8th inning and he gets a banana. And so people are thinking, he's done for the night, right? Breaks the banana in half and decides, he came out in the 9th, retired the side, complete game.
Did he just broke or did he eat the banana too?
I think he ate it too, but the point is he didn't do what you did. He wasn't dainty about it. He cracked it.
All right. Well, I eat a banana before every show. That's like one of my traditions on here. I think 32 ounces of water and 1 banana.
That's awesome. Well, you got a good show, so keep the routine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, Alan, take care. I'll catch you soon.
All right. See you, man.
Take it easy, everybody. All right. Speaking of food, meanwhile. All right, check this out. This is a Delaware County pizza driver. He's serving both pizza and justice, according to CBS. What's going on here is there's a high-speed chase on there. He gets to the house. He's going to bring the pizza up. There's a high-speed chase. Cops are running everywhere. This guy, he forgot about the delivery. He's worried about his car right here. That's his livelihood. Well, check him out. He stays super cool, and he goes from the Cobra Kai school at John Kreese, and he sweeps the leg on the perpetrator as he's coming by. And even better, he did not drop the pizza. He did not drop the sub. Apparently, this was Coco's Pizza. The guy's name is Tyler Morrell. He's a former lacrosse player. That's where he learned how to kick some ass. And he said, you better not hit my car. Don't touch the man's car. The person who ordered Steinmetz, they said it was a large half plain, half pepperoni. He said everything was intact. None of the pepperoni from the cheese side even slid over, even though he tripped that MFer as he was trying to run away. So here's a little cowbell for you, Tyler. Great job out there. Parking your ass. Speaking of parking people's asses, it's Benton Osborne with Tron. Hey, what's up, man?
How are you today?
What's going on? Have you ever encountered a situation like that where someone had stolen a car and you had to jump in and administer justice?
Not at all. Nowhere near that. My life's not as exciting as that pizza delivery guy, but kudos on him on taking out the culprit as well as keeping the pizza intact. I mean, that's double whammy right there.
Cops are happy, customers happy, everybody's happy. Well, you are the principal at Osborne Properties, and you're working on big rig parking. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I know you've got everybody knows the parking issue in the United States.
Yeah,
you've had some people on here
one
talking
spot
about,
for every 11 drivers.
Correct. The time wasted for drivers looking for parking, wasted gas, wasted time, and wasted income. So we noticed this. We have a good team with partners that are from the trucking industry, some from the flatbed, and other partners, a third-generation trucker. But a lot of people that I've seen on your show, but they're doing a great job, but they're focusing on the reservation side of it. We are actually building lots to accommodate truckers. And so we are very strategic on where we build our lots. We actually have 2 open outside of Nashville, one to the south in Christiana, Tennessee, just south of Murfreesboro on 24, and one off I-840, which is kind of our loop on the south side of Nashville, that is off Couchville Pike in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. We have 6 others in the works in 5 different states, but we actually build the parking lots. So we are strategically placed close to truck stops and right off the interstate. So a trucker doesn't waste any time looking for parking. They can go to our website, bigrigparkingspaces.com, to reserve ahead of time. Pull up to the gate.
Let me ask you, before we get any further into the weeds here, how is it different? You mentioned other ones have mentioned they're focusing on reservations. So what is the driver experience when using Big Rig Parking? How do I sign up? How do I get a spot to park in? Does it cost money? How is that? What are the logistics?
Yeah, so like I said, you can go to our website, bigrigparkingspaces.com, to reserve ahead of time. We're in talks with Secure Space as well. It's another reservation group. Or you can just pull up to our gate. There's a QR code you can scan to get in, and then you can get on our lot. We have both a nightly and a monthly parking rate. So Christiana is at $25 a night, $250 a month, and Couchville's at $28 a night and $300 a month. So you can get in either way like that, or you can reserve ahead of time. So, hey, if you know you're going to be in Nashville, and like I said, we will have more in 5 other states by the end of this year. If you know you're going to be in one of those areas, you're going to reserve ahead of time. As one of the members here likes to say, it's kind of cheesy, but we want to be the Chick-fil-A of truck parking.
Oh, interesting. So you're
and
closed on
what
Sunday?
they mean by that? Do what?
You're closed on Sunday?
Unfortunately, no, we're open 24/7.
Okay.
We want to deliver a high quality product. So our lots are fully fenced, lit. I got more cameras than I can count, and security. And speaking of security, we've actually had a lot of female drivers reach out to us. They feel a lot safer in our lots. And so, like I said, we're adjacent to Love's at both of our locations that are currently open, and the majority of ones we're looking at are working on are adjacent to Love's. So all the amenities are there.
Well, you mentioned where they are. How are you targeting locations? Like you mentioned, you have the ones in Nashville, and you're looking at 5 others. How are you picking where to put parking?
Some of the members here that are in the trucking industry kind of know the pain point areas. Some of the interstates that are high volume traffic. One of them is about 8 hours away from the New York ports. So that kind of gives us a good idea of, hey, they're coming out of the ports, going to run out of hours. This would be a good location for it. And a lot of the towns we talk with are like, oh, yeah, we see truckers everywhere. We want to provide a safe, sincere place for these truckers.
So you mentioned safe and secure. You mentioned women feel secure. What kind of amenities are at one of your lots?
Well, that's the strategic location on being next to a truck stop. And so they can walk over to the Love's, drive in to Love's or Pilot and or TA that we're looking at and use those next door. Our lots they're not technically paved. It's like a fancy version of tar and chip called DBST. So we have a high-end finish, not just gravel. We don't like potholes, very well lined out, dolly pads, secure gate systems, and all that fun stuff.
Very cool. Any plans for, I was just talking to Alan about EV, so it just got me randomly thinking about this as I'm thinking about truck parking, but that is where you'd have to charge one of these things because they take hours. Any plans to expand and put chargers or anything? Has anyone ever approached you about that?
We have actually in all of our lots that we have open and are working on, we have conduit piping for charging stations. We haven't put them in yet because there's not a need, but we are prepped whenever that does happen. We will have those in our lots.
Did they tell you, because I've been curious, how would those look? Because, when you have a car, you don't have to worry about a trailer behind you. So you just back into the spot and you can charge. But with a big rig, you're talking about you got 53 feet of no one's going to unhook to go charge.
No, we're in the early stages of talking with the groups that are going to have the charging stations. Excuse me. So working on that, but we're putting stuff in place to have them when it's needed. It'll be there.
Cool. Well, I got a question for you. It's our stupid question of the day, asking the freight industry. Which banana are you choosing here?
I'm with your previous guest. I'm at 5.
You're at
had
5.
one 5 minutes before I got on the show as well. So 4's fine. 5's good. 6 is I'll still eat it. 7 I'm throwing it in a bread.
Yeah, in the bread. Or my Christian Thomas, one of our production guys, he just shared a banana ice cream recipe. So apparently he can make really good banana ice cream.
Ooh, I'd give that a shot.
The perfect food. Go over to, what is it, bigrigparking.com?
bigrigparkingspaces.com.
bigrigparkingspaces.com. Get yourself a space and you can walk right over to Love's and get as many bananas as you like as you sit securely in your truck.
Exactly.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Take it easy. All right, everybody. It's time to rate a little strap work. What do we got today? All right, what we're seeing here is, what is it, like a Yugo or a Peugeot? Peugeot? Got either a Yugo or a Peugeot. Truck on top of the other truck. Casey Sawyer says, is that a Yugo? Amy Wells says, how? Carlos Aspinia says, beautiful angle there. There is minimal damage at a low cost. The official rate is 5.5. James Pulpiter says, first, how do they get that car up like that before strapping it? Second, optimistic view. If they flip over, they'll still be able to go. That is actually a really good point. Simon Hartman says, we don't mind the straps. What about the roof structure? Good point there. Risque Otamo says, wondering how they managed to get that into position. And Doug Hatcher says, 2 of 5. How does the driver get in? Window is a poor option. I got to agree with him there. That is a really poor option. All right, everybody. Well, it's time to tip the band again. Do you know that AIT Worldwide Logistics plans to reach net zero emissions by 2035? That's 5 years before the date targeted by the Climate Pledge and 15 years in advance of the Paris Agreement's goal. But that's just one of their overall commitments to corporate social responsibility. Whether it's protecting the planet, nurturing the communities where we live and work, or ensuring high-quality business continuity, AIT is taking action today to deliver a better tomorrow. Learn more at AITworldwide.com. But now, you're going to learn how to get in shape and be healthy from Bob Perry. Bob, what's going on? You look great, brother.
Hey, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
What part of the world are you coming into us from? Where are you sitting today?
St. George, Utah.
Ooh, St. George, Utah. Interesting. I was looking through some of your pictures and stuff, and you're like the Jack LaLanne. You're like full of health. You were doing like 10 million push-ups on LinkedIn. I was going through and it was just like push-up. And there's so many diverse different locations. You're even like between trucks and mats. But before we get there, where do you come from? Why this interest in health?
Well, I grew up in a family of professional drivers. I got two brothers still out there today running them down the highway. I drove years ago, long enough to realize it wasn't my career. And so I've been in the health field ever since, and then always migrated to the drivers because, we lose almost 300,000 drivers a year because they can't pass their physical. And, they're skilled, and we just don't do enough to take care of them. So one of the initiatives that with all the push-ups, I've been supporting, of course, the Veterans Suicide Prevention awareness program, right? 22 veterans commit suicide a day, and I do that to help bring awareness and at the same time hopefully motivate drivers to get involved. And I have some new technology that just was released that's really gained a lot of traction for drivers to be able to manage their health by using their cell phone camera.
Well, I got to ask you then, so what is the key to driver physical health? What do you educate people on? How should they be thinking about this?
It really, thank you for asking that. The first thing I advise them is, it's in their brain that they have to do a pre-trip check, right? Every time before they pull on the road. So I get them to do a pre-trip refrigerator check because in the life of a professional driver, you're going to get stuck. Weather, construction, whatever. If you don't have a good choice to reach for, you make a bad one. So I always train them to make sure they have some healthy, nutritious snacks available, and that's really the first step. And then incorporate any type of movement that they can do, but really it's about what you put in your mouth.
I hear that too, and I've said this every time the fitness people come on. The only time I ever manage to lose weight is when I use a calorie tracker and can do the Seco because it's tough to eyeball it. You forget that you had like a handful of Skittles each time you walk past the candy bowl, and that'd be like 800 calories that you're not even thinking about.
Oh yeah.
Aside from making those really good food choices, right? Like what kind of exercise do you do? I know that you're a huge advocate of doing push-ups, which are they can be hard, but they're great because you don't have to bring anything with you on the road.
Right. Well, I recommend, and it's so easy to get them. You go to your local sporting goods store and get a set of bands. They're very inexpensive, and you'd be surprised the type of workout you can get by utilizing those bands when you're on the road inside your truck or outside your truck. And they're easy on the joints, and it's about movement. So when you combine what you're putting in your mouth and watching your caloric intake and getting the right kind of fuel, just like in your truck, and some type of movement, you're going to get some results. And it doesn't take much to move the needle so that you can be able to get your heart rate down, get your blood pressure under control. At the end of the day, it's all about being able to pass your CDL recertification and protecting your livelihood.
And what about for people who struggle with the push-ups? How do you even get those started? Because, there's some guys, they may not have done push-ups in a while. They're getting 250, 3 bills. They might not have the strength to push up that body weight. And it's embarrassing if you got to make modifications, right? But otherwise, you're going to break your wrists. What is your advice to the guys who are kind of just getting started and they're kind of embarrassed?
Well, don't be. Do push-ups off the side of your truck, off your fender. Do them on an incline. Put your hands on your steps. And it's just about starting like everything else, right? It's moderation. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to build up the strength. If you have to use your knees to do it, it's about making small adjustments to depend on what fits for you. But you can really burn some calories. The thing I always recommend to them is take a lap around your truck, do a few push-ups or push-offs beside your truck, do another lap, and do that in 10 laps, and you may get 30, 40 push-ups in, and you get some circulation going, you burn some calories, and you're on your way to a routine, and before you know it, you're cranking out 40, 50 of them and getting you a 20-minute walk in.
Beautiful. I love the walking. Everyone, it's such a simple thing. It's another one of those things. It's like, get your 20, 30 minutes of walking. Just start with those two things. Get your walking in, walk around 20 minutes in that truck stop, and make good decisions when you're grabbing that food. Like, just don't eat 3,000 calories. Start tracking it. Make sure you maybe get some bananas. But you also mentioned veteran mental health, but mental health also really important for drivers. You drive in a frustrating career, and isolation is career in a lot of ways. What is your advice on mental health for drivers?
Absolutely, and thanks for bringing that up as well, because there's just a lot of things going through their mind, right? You got all that time in the truck, and there's the things that I've found over the years working with drivers. The three things, number one, that really wind their watch is they get into a disagreement with their dispatcher or manager. They get a distress call from home. Johnny got kicked out of school, the basement's flooded, or whatever, or a four-wheeler cuts them off. And you have to be able to manage and exercise your mental health as well as your physical health. Because if you don't, then you end up making some really bad decisions quickly. And so, there's a lot of resources out there now that you can reach out to and talk to people privately and, to help mitigate before you make a bad decision. And most companies have EAP programs, which are employee assistant programs that you can talk to people privately. If you're an owner-operator, there's a lot of ancillary programs you can call up. It's free. And just make the phone call and talk to somebody before you make a bad decision.
You made a great point about something happening at home. Like, those of us who aren't over the road, you can just be at work, and if you get a text from your wife or your family that something had happened, that can be all-consuming, right? That can be all-consuming the rest of your day. You get home and you can deal with it, but you got drivers who may be out on a run. They may be out for weeks letting those things get out. How do you compartmentalize stuff when you're out on the road?
Exactly. And that happens, and I know from being a young guy growing up, and our dad, before they had the cell phones, they had the CB radio, which is a whole nother subject. Professional drivers really started social media with the CB radio, right? It wasn't Facebook. But that's the only way they had to communicate. And somebody got hurt at school or whatever the issue is. And I can remember vividly that my mother talking with my dad and breaking the news to him, easily, and then telling him, don't worry. We've got it under control, and that's what the family support comes in, and that's what you have to have when you're a professional driver. Your mate at home has to be able to be a support mechanism for you. And that you can't, the driver, cannot be the sounding board, right? They're letting you in on what's going on, but the mate at home has to be the support to let that driver know everything's okay. You can handle it when you get home, but they just can't make it a drama at the time unless it is something real serious. They need to stop and get home.
Yeah, you have to worry about what you can control at the time that you can control it. Can you leave us with something?
Exactly.
It's summertime coming up, springtime's coming up. We all got to wear lighter clothes, and you don't want to walk across the Love's parking lot showing your belly to everybody in your Crocs as you head to the shower. What can you leave us with to just get started on that journey, started today?
Read the labels, my friend. Read before you act. I tell drivers all the time, give me 50%. That means make 50% good choices. That's all it is. And if you're drinking 6 Cokes a day, make it 3, and just make, simple little changes equal big results. And step number 2 doesn't happen without step number 1, and that's making a decision. Get your head wrapped around it. Get rid of the stinking thinking. Check up from the head up, and make a decision that you're going to make it a good day today.
Bananas, Mother Nature's perfect food, the perfect travel food, comes in its own wrapper. Which one would you take out of this ripeness scale?
I would take number 5 there, right in the middle, and I would put some peanut butter or almond butter on it so I can help protein on it so the sugar doesn't spike.
Is that a great snack to get at Love's? Get yourself a jar of peanut butter, grab some bananas, keep next to you in the truck.
It's my go-to when I go to Love or whatever. I grab the banana, make sure I got peanut butter with me, and stick it in there, and it's my go-to snack. And I get the protein and I get the fruit, and it fills me up. I'm good to go.
Well, hey, Bob, it was so nice to meet you today. People who want to go to your website, where would I send them to?
Send them to healthandtransportation.com, or they can go to cdlhealthscanner.com.
Thanks, Bob. Keep doing the Lord's work. Get some drivers healthy, both physically and up here as well.
You got it, my friend. Thanks so much.
Take care. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, do you guys like the drive? Should we do more driver health? A lot of this stuff applies to you desk workers, too. I know a lot of you people aren't even in trucks who listen to the show. You're like, hey, so I'm one of them right here. I'm like, I have like my fitness pal, and my problem is a lot. Like, I just won't open it if I'm already screwing up. I'm like, too deep in the sour pad. Never mind. Today's a cheat day. The problem is you let those like cheat days like cascade to the next day. You gotta stay on top of that. It sneaks up quick. All right, let's talk to Justin Martin, super trucker. Yeah. There we go. How you doing today, buddy?
Good. Yeah, those cheat days, they really stack up. I put on more weight just working from home than I ever did being behind the wheel, because you're more active behind the wheel. You're helping unload the trucks. You're getting in and out of the cab and stuff. And now it's like I just sit in my office chair all day.
Yeah, like to go get snacks, you got to go like stock up and everything. Like here, you're in your office chair, and it's like the cupboard's right there. And the worst thing is like just eating out of like boredom. Your mind tricks you. It's like and it's like if I was lost in the woods right now, and I ate breakfast would I really be starving to death? Not at all. No, I would not.
No. I'm a big fan of Jocko Willink's principle: discipline equals freedom. So it's like if once you get on that track, motivation doesn't matter. Discipline is like everything.
What are you seeing when you were driving? What were you seeing those drivers buy? Like, there's got to be some bad habits on those big guys.
Oh yeah, I was one of those drivers. You just buy whatever you can from the cold case at the truck stop, put it in the microwave for a minute and a half, and that's your meal for the next couple hours.
Well, Peaceful, he made a great point about the labels, too, because there'll be like those juices, right? And they look healthy at the gas station, but from your kids' juice, it's like 350 calories, almost all sugar for one of those juices. Think of that like a milkshake.
I wish my son would drink some of those. He's strict. All he drinks is water or milk. He's never been a juice kid.
Yeah, but it's not great. It's got too much sugar in it, man.
Yeah.
Give him an apple instead.
When he's eating better now because he's going through all these growth spurts, but early on, it was a struggle trying to get him to eat anything.
So what was going on up in your neck of the woods? According to CNN, show this picture right here. There's this big dime heist that happened. Police are on the hunt for the people behind what they call a dime and dash theft in, I love that term. Good on you, CNN article writer. Theft in Northeast Philadelphia. It happened at 6 a.m. last Thursday. Thieves broke into an unmarked trailer. It was left in a Walmart parking lot for some reason. And they made off with about 2 million dimes. It was in total at 750,000 dimes, but that must have been too much for these thieves to carry. That's a lot of dimes.
Yeah, it's like 10 tons total, and the number keep going up. Like when they first reported it was $100,000 worth of dimes. Now it's up to 200,000. And you can see they were just using trash cans. They just cut the bags open and were stuffing these trash cans with as many dimes as they could. This was perfect case of like what not to do with any kind of load, not just money. He went from the U.S. Mint in Center City, Philadelphia, north to a Walmart where he lived because he was tired, parked the truck in the Walmart parking lot overnight, and then came back to the truck and it was ransacked. Like, it just, no, you in training, you're taught like from the beginning, like do not stop for the first 100, 200 miles, even for just freight of all kind, not just money. Whatever contracts or, business deals this guy had, he deserves to lose everything he had. This was just basic stuff that he failed on every single level.
It's a pretty egregious oversight, as you're saying. Now, It begs the question here then, inside job or just lazy driver who wanted to be near his home for his pickup in the morning? What do you think the case is here?
I doubt very much, inside job. First of all, it's dimes. So if it's an inside job, you're going...
Want that dime heist?
You want something that's got a little more value to it. Because again, like he's going to lose everything for nothing, for absolutely nothing. He was supposed to be heading towards Florida, so he should have been heading southbound, not northbound. No, it just sounds like he probably did this in the past and got away with it, but this time he got caught.
That was how do you launder all those dimes? How do you launder 2 million? That's a lot of dimes.
So Coinstar is pretty ubiquitous out here. You know, you can you can put it through the machines, and if you get like an Amazon gift card instead of like cash, you know, you don't lose any kind of penalties and stuff. So I think police are looking for like a spike in Coinstar dimes lately.
How many like 5-gallon water bottles would 2 million dimes fill?
Oh, I don't know. So if you ever go on a tour of the Mint, which I really recommend you do, it's a lot of fun. They have these gigantic sacks inside the hallway for the tour, and you're allowed to try and push one to see how heavy it is, and you cannot move it at all. I think it was quarters that are inside those, so dimes are even smaller, and they can fit in even larger bags. So yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you can see the photos, they just had dimes splashed everywhere. It would have taken a lot of trips, but the guy was parked overnight, so they had plenty of time.
Well, that's the only reason. I'm like, is it an inside? Because they were planning on, and they did get 2 million dimes. They didn't just open it like, this is just too many dimes. They actually did go through it, taking as much as they could fit in whatever they had.
They were motivated. Yeah, they were pretty motivated.
Well, so here's egregious. There's a lot of egregious actions that can happen when you're driving a truck. One of them is going to the U.S. Mint and then parking at Walmart overnight. Another one is going to a delivery location and then going in your sleeper and falling asleep while you're on the train tracks. This happened, to show this picture here, this happened over in Knoxville, Tennessee. A semi-truck was hit by a train near Harriman after parking on the track Saturday morning. The crash happened at 7:15 a.m. at the railroad crossing near the 1600 block. The report says the driver of the truck, Jagat Singh, he's 41 of Pennsylvania, was in the sleeper cab at the time when the truck crash happened. Now, that sounds crazy. Here's just a little more insight into this. Apparently, he had arrived there in the night, right? And the gate was closed to his location. And I don't have a picture of it, but I did see a picture online. The road has kind of like an access road. And it looks like you could have driven up to that gate, cleared the tracks, and thought everything was fine. Apparently, he had to let some cars out, so he backed up. I don't know if he forgot that the train tracks were there, but either way, he backs up, lets the cars out, goes into his sleeper, falls asleep, and then gets one hell of an alarm at 7:15 in the morning.
Yeah, this guy might have been driving all night and was super tired. When you get interrupted while you're sleeping, you're not thinking straight. But again, you're on tracks, man. I don't understand how that happened. He was asked to move and then moved his truck back to where it was and then got hit.
Yeah, what is like because again, this is obviously people not following procedure, but is there a procedure that once you stopped and if it's moved again before you go to sleep, you have to get out of the vehicle and inspect your area or not?
No, when your ELD really won't kick in driving unless you're going, over, I think, like 10 or 15 miles per hour. So if all you're doing is backing up a couple of feet, it's not going to trip it's not going to kick you out of like your off-duty status.
Oh, no. I mean, like regular, but you as a driver, when you park, are you supposed to get out of the truck before you go to sleep and make sure you're safe?
Yeah, when you park for the night, you're supposed to do your post-trip inspection. You do a pre-trip and a post-trip. So he's going to get written up for that right there at minimum.
In terms of this, is this as egregious as parking at a Mint overnight, or could this just be like first time the person's ever done this? Could it just be that given the circumstances, he might have been exhausted? Like he did get waken up at 7:15 in the morning. I mean, I realize you shouldn't do it, or do you throw the book at him?
No, you got to use guys like this as an example.
Yeah.
It was probably one of those things where he's done this before and just happened to get away with it. Even if you are tired, you still got to get out, check your surroundings, and see what's going on.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. What if your surroundings are a bunch of popcorn on the ground and your little boy had put it there and you're a Blue Jays pitcher? Take a look at this tweet right here from Anthony Bass. He made a bass hole of himself on Twitter by saying the flight attendant at United just made my 22-week pregnant wife. Can he use months here? Why is he going 22 weeks? I don't know. Pregnant wife traveling with a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old got on her hands and knees to pick up the popcorn mess by my youngest daughter. Are you kidding me? What are your thoughts on this one, Justin?
So I'm actually flying to Florida tomorrow, and I saw this tweet and I thought, okay, if my son makes a mess, we're obviously going to clean it up. But like, did they ask him to do this during the flight or after they landed? I don't know.
I think they asked his wife. They asked his wife to do it. Somehow, like she must have stood up and sent this picture to him, and then he decided to go on social media for some reason. As a Blue Jays pitcher that makes $5 million a year and has a 7.36 ERA, thought this was a good idea to criticize someone else's work. He can't even clean up batters.
Oh yeah. And the ratio too is glorious. It's like 60,000 replies or something up to now. It's insane. It's like
Well,
one of
here's
the
the thing,
hardest.
too, like, I get being like, maybe you're like a little annoyed. I know you can get overwhelmed, but here's the also thing. Like, dude, you're complaining that your wife's flying alone. All right. How about you, Mr. $5 million, go hire a nanny to go fly with your wife if it's so overwhelming? I've flown with the kids alone.
Yeah.
My wife has. I understand how challenging it could be. I wish I had the financial means to bring someone with me.
Yeah, no, and to go on social media and complain about it, you're just opening yourself up for getting blasted.
I like
You
this
love to see-
guy. I like this trucker, Joe Seppi. Show him right here. He said, hey, show Joe Seppi. He said, hey, United, someone's kid spilled popcorn in my truck. Can you please fire your entire flight crew for me? Thanks. Because here's the one thing we didn't mention. So Anthony Bassel, after he did that first tweet, not only did he not realize he was getting ratioed, but he doubled down and showed and he's like, hey, they provided the popcorn to me. Then he tripled down and bragged that United told him they were going to deal with that stewardess or that flight attendant internally. So like he's trying to get this person fired, man.
Yeah, no, you gotta love people standing up for the flight attendant too. I think enough of them. There's been enough videos of them dealing with like a typical passenger lately that everyone's had enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, granted, I think in general most flight attendants probably wouldn't say anything to someone. It can be kind of annoying if they nail you. But look, it's your kids. At the end of the day, like, you're just not going to win that argument.
Yeah, no, you got to clean up after your kids.
Speaking of baseball, new tradition happening. 2 years ago, you couldn't even go out to a baseball game, Justin. They wouldn't even let you, or you had to wear a mask, or you had to stay 600 feet away from everybody because, oh my God, you're going to die. Oh yeah, look how resilient people in Boston are. Take a look at this new tradition that's going on now. People are drinking beer as a funnel out of their own sneakers.
That is foul. That is absolutely foul.
It's called a shoey, apparently, according to the guys in the back. They do them all the time. They used to be big butt chuggers, but have switched to the new shoey.
The few games I've attended in Philly, here's what would happen. If somebody did this, everybody in the crowd would say, gross, that's disgusting, how dare you? But then as soon as these videos get online and people outside the city start, criticizing them, the next game, everybody in the stands taking their shoes off and chugging beers.
Chugging beers. Have you tried this? What is the grossest thing you've ever drank beer out of?
I mean, a glass.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking anything out of my shoes. I don't care what it is.
When I was kind of poor and drunk in Hollywood, probably the grossest thing that we would do, and I learned this from these British girls. There's this band, Miranda Sex Garden, that was visiting, and they were I don't know if this is normal in Britain, but like they would just go around to, like, people left drinks at tables. They would go around and just drink what was left over.
The first job I had was working in a movie theater, and there would be some of the ushers that would like go around and scoop up all the leftover candy and stuff. No popcorn because you just get as much as you want, but guys would eat the leftover candy. Ugh.
Yeah, well, here's something that we have been getting messages and we've been seeing tweets and we've been hearing it, and it's a lot of complaints recently. This is Two Dogs and a Trucker, but this is representative of a lot of what we hear. And what happened to them is they have gotten suspended from a few carriers for having too few inspections. And I know there's services out there right now that rate carriers based on the number of inspections they have, and they give them a score, and now people are making decisions based upon this scoring. But is it the right way to score carriers, or are inspections the end-all be-all indicator of if you're running with a good carrier?
Absolutely not, because it shouldn't account for nothing, for sure, but it's not the greatest indication of how good a operator is, because if you have a clean truck and you're running a tip-top shape, carrier, you're not going to get inspected. You're going to get waved by. Their inspectors are going after the trucks that have like clearly visible signs of disrepair. Anything that they can get a truck off the highway for and shut down, those are the trucks that they're going after. So if you're driving for a couple of years and you're not getting inspected, to me, that's a sign that you're actually a pretty quality, truck driver, because your truck's in good shape. You're not catching the eye of enforcement, and there should be you can't volunteer yourself for an inspection. They're just going to laugh you out of the office. They're going to go after the guys that they know that they can get fines out of.
Yeah, Mac, our buddy Mac Lovin, he was telling me about this. He's like, I faced this same problem. Our trucks are running clean. We had a couple good years with no inspections, and it's like, now what do you do? Just put your truck out there to look like it should get pulled over, to make it a bait truck, so it gets, just so you look good to some computer program?
Yeah, no, and plus, because your drivers are getting paid by the mile, not the hour, like nobody wants to sit there for an hour getting a level 1 inspection.
Yeah. And do carriers at all, like, do carriers think this way? Like, oh, this makes us a good by the number of inspections we have? Like, that seems kind of like the flaw with it too, because it's optimizing and looking for something for that, like, that part of the relationship isn't even, they're trying to avoid inspections.
Yeah. Everyone's trying to find a way of like quickly and easily grading somebody as best as they can. It's like when school teachers are graded based on how the grades of their students are graded. We don't have a really good metric of like a carrier that has flown under the radar for a couple of years because they're a stellar carrier. They're always looking for like, give me a number. If you can give me a number that says A, B, or C, or I'm sorry, a letter A, B, or C to grade somebody, great. But there isn't a system for that in place right now. And the solution, whoever comes up with that solution, drivers are going to flock to them overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of inspections, we have a video here of an autonomous car. Roll this tape first. He's autonomous because we're going to get into a conversation on autonomous DOT inspections. But is this a Waymo? Is this in San Francisco?
Yeah.
So what's going on here is you're sitting in an autonomous car, right? And it does not know how to get around the cops.
Yeah, and the cop doesn't know how to, tell the car where to go. This is like this is technology outrunning the law in real time. I love this video.
What is the car thinking?
The car's thinking, hey, there's somebody in my way. I got to move. But the cop's like, what's funny is the cop doesn't even notice at first that there's nobody behind the wheel. I really wish there was like a part 2 behind this. I tried tracking down the original video, but this is all there is right now.
He doesn't even know. He's just like, that's just another car. Maybe it's a kid driving.
Yeah. But there are people saying that like we need to have like autonomous trucks and autonomous inspectors and stuff. But like these are the problems that we're going to have unless this stuff is figured out before they implement it.
What the hell is an autonomous inspector? How would that work?
So we were in a Twitter space last night. We were talking about how there's actually a shortage of DOT inspectors right now. A lot of them left due to their age. COVID pushed a lot of them out because of like vaccine requirements. So when that workforce leaves, that knowledge base of like what to look for in a truck and like older trucks is gone. So even if they hire new guys now, they don't have those old school, like more experienced guys teaching the new guys what to be on the lookout for. So it's a bit of a brain drain right now. So we kind of joked of like, how funny would it be if somebody came up with like an autonomous inspector for the autonomous trucks?
Huh. Hopefully the autonomous one will at least pull over 2 dogs in a truck so they can somehow improve their score by getting inspected.
Yeah, because there's no rules or anything in place right now. So if there's no driver behind the wheel of the vehicle, and it has to get flagged into a weigh station, like what do we do?
California is thinking about maybe straight out not banning them, but keeping the safety driver, which would effectively ban autonomous trucks because they're not viable.
Yeah, and then what's the point?
Well, forget the robots. Let's celebrate the good drivers. How about the good drivers who have to bring NASCAR trucks into Bristol? Let's take a look at the process here because it's great. It looks pretty steep.
Yeah, 30% or 36%, I believe they said. It's a real steep hill, and it had just rained. Yeah, 36 degrees. So it's pretty steep, pretty slick. You can't touch the brakes. You just got to let it ride. If you're in the way, sorry, you're getting run over.
So what do you, when you have to go to a grade like this and you're kind of, you can't pick up a ton of momentum because you're entering a stadium. How do you handle that as a driver?
Keep it in gear.
Yeah.
If you feel like the trailer is starting to swing out, then you push your clutch in to release the drive, and hopefully the trailer swings back in on you. But this is a nice short trip. They're not going to worry about the trailers jackknifing on them or anything on something like this. And you can see there's guys out there throwing more dirt on there to keep it dry.
How do you get one of those cool jobs like delivering to a NASCAR track or concert tours?
In the very few instances where I've run across some of those guys, it's always like, oh, I'm a brother or a cousin of so and so. It's 100% who you know. You're not just going to walk off the street with 1 million miles under your belt and get hired at these places. You really got to know people who know people.
Those are pretty cushy.
Yeah.
Well, it's time for banana. Were you a big banana eater when you were over the road?
Yeah.
Big banana eater now?
I need to be more. It's always like whatever my son's into. So he goes through phases. He loves them, then he hates them, and he loves them. Right now, he's kind of anti-banana.
Oh, well, which banana would you take out of this selection here?
Oh, number 4 every day.
Yeah, same here. Do you freak out if you see a little brown on there? Do you freak out if there's like, because I can eat 6. I don't even eat around the brown unless it's like super brown.
No, I just go by the feel of the banana. If I pick up number 5 and it's like super soft in the center, it's like, okay, that's probably not a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can 5 and 6 are the ones that you slice them up and put them in peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm team 4 too. We had a lot of 5s. You and I are the only team 4s. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Check out Justin's work on FW What the Truck on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok. TikTok, we have thank you to the 6,000 or 7,000 followers we've gained in the past 2 weeks on that site. Those videos are doing great. Go subscribe to us there. But more important, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to shows. You can get on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, FreightWaves YouTube channel, or the FreightWaves TV app. Hey, State of Freight webinar is coming up tomorrow with Craig Fuller and Zach Strickland. Don't miss that one, and we'll be back on Friday. Take care, and don't be a stranger.